All right. Hello. Good evening. Welcome to Passion Project Management. We're on episode 8. We're really getting into it. Um, I don't know what happened with last week's stream. My internet switch kind of stopped communicating with everything. So I hope you enjoyed last episode. It was cool to run it upstairs and edit it in that way. But hopefully, I'm really hoping that we can just kind of lock into this live stream thing and then, just take a few minutes to set it up. Tonight, I want to jump right in. I've begun the process of reaching out to musicians to form the first group for the first session for what hopefully will become my band. I did a bunch of prep work ahead of like the actual launch, over the last few weeks, and I'll go through the two main elements of what that is in a little bit more detail. I know we kind of went over it briefly last week, but we're going to really go into the database of people and why I made those decisions, and then we're going to go into that initial email or message that I sent to these folks and the motivations behind each of the parts of it and why I thought it should be included. And super hats off to my good friend Judy, who did a bunch of proofreading and checking for ideas and making sure that I had all the right information in there. And it might get ignored by some folks because it's a pretty thick thing, but I think it's important that from the get-go we kind of spell out the ideologies and the expectations so that people who end up on these sessions are really the right ones that I can collaborate with, and we can kind of try to make something special. So super excited. So yeah, what I did was build out a database of as many people that I knew with a creative connection, right? So basically I just thought of all of my friends and family and people whom may know musicians or creative people in the Bay Area. This is going to be a local band, especially with COVID. I want it to be live, so we need to be able to be around here. I don't want to do the online thing right now for this project. So yeah, it's basically people who know people, right? I'm reaching out to a huge group. It's over 200 people in the hopes that they will have one or two people each that may be interested, right? We have to get it down to 6, but there's going to be huge amounts of folks that don't have time for this or can't really think of anyone, but I wanted to start with as big a number as I could. So, but what I did is basically created this column later on, but first and last and first names, so that it can all be alphabetized if I wanted to. It's I have a copy of it here, but just for privacy, I'm not going to be going through the actual database. Then their instrument, I think that was pretty critical. Now this could be people that are musicians, but they might have their own band, they might be busy, they might not be able to or don't want to do this. So for those folks, it was really just understanding, okay, who are they, what do they play, and how might they know other people, right? Obviously, I was joking around. There's a very close connection from me to myself. But yeah, so we got names, instrument, and then the connection was important because I wanted to keep track of how I knew them through what person or what organization or work or whatever, so that, as you'll see later on in the email, so that you can create these threads of connectivity so you're not coming completely out of the blue. Then we have email, best contact, phone number, link to their website, notes, etc. That stuff's kind of just there in case we have to write something special, or if you have a link to the website or something like that. So I built this out. It's over 200 people, and as of this afternoon, I've contacted about 150 or so, mainly through emails, and then I did Facebook messages for a bunch of people that I didn't have emails. And then I'm going to do one more push, and it's people that I've found in researching this, like okay, I saw someone who was in a band and this was the band members. So I wrote down their names and I'm trying to find contact information for them. Part of this thing is that I know a bunch of people that I would like to reach out to be in on this session, but again, they might be busy. They might not want to. There's a bunch of different reasons why it couldn't work out. So I want to increase the total amount of people that I reach out to with this opportunity and to talk it out and to hear it out, knowing that, it's probably not going to work out for most folks. All right. So the first thing that I really wanted to make sure was that this was not a spam blast email, and that it was a personalized email that if people did choose to take the time to read it, it would make sense and justify why I'm reaching out, right? I'm not going to be talking with these people all the time. I haven't talked to them in many years, but I do know them, and we shared creative moments or interactions in the past. And so everyone that made this list, I felt comfortable reaching out to, asking for help. So what I did is I started, and obviously I entered everyone's names, and then I wrote some personalized content reminding them how we knew each other, and just in general a salutation saying, I hope you're doing well. A lot of times I would describe the feeling that I had when we were working together, when I met them, right? Whether it was this a music video for these guys that are in a rock band around here, or a class somewhere, right? There's people on the list that aren't even musicians, but I just remember them being so creative that I wanted to just reach out and say, hey, if you know people who might be into this, let me know. I put the too long don't read, starting a band, send musicians info. If people have no time, but they might get that as a little bit of an understanding, that'd be cool. So then basically at its core, I'm building a band in San Francisco, and this message is wanting to connect with musicians. I had to talk about where we're at right now in the world, and it's the middle of a pandemic and the industry has collapsed and we can't even have live shows. So why does starting a live band make any sense? But it feels like the right time for me. We're going to mitigate any of the risks with our production plans, and this is going to take a lot longer than it maybe would in person, because it's online communication and a bunch of the stuff. So I want to get ahead of not I don't want to get ahead. I just want to I want to be able to hit the ground running when everything does open back up, hopefully in the fall. So then I was talking about the band's mission, and at its core, I want to make music that feels good. I've done, all the demos that I've recorded. I'm getting more confident with my stuff, and I really just can't wait to see what will happen if we can get a group of improvisational musicians together. And I'm just stoked to see what we can do with the tunes that I've created as a core. But really, I just can't wait to jump into the collaborative thing. So make music that feels good. Secondary, I want it to support musicians as soon as possible. I want this to be able to pay these musicians, and that's going to be part of the audition and the interview process, is going to be understanding where everyone's at, right? Basically, I have to make a choice. Like, first of all, I've been saving up money, so I am ready to pay people for a session, but I'm also hoping that there can be some type of production bartering, right? So maybe I don't exactly pay them right now for this one, but I can help them record a single, or I can help give them production, guidance. There are different types of compensation in these beginning stages. What I'm not going to do is I'm not going to expect anyone who needs to get a paycheck and is a critical element of this group. I'm not gonna just try to nickel and dime them, especially if they're pro musicians. So that's going to be a conversation that has to be really frank, and I really want everyone to feel good about it, because at its core, I want this band to support musicians. I also wanted to build community, right? Part of being in the Bay Area and working where I work, I see a lot of musicians locally. We have them come through our stage. We see all these people, but I haven't necessarily felt like I have been in the music scene from a creator's perspective. So I'm really hoping that as COVID chills out and we get past it, that we can actually we can build community with this thing. Also in 2020, a lot of people that look like me, we just kind of had an awakening, really thinking about place, privilege, power. I know it was on my mind ahead of times, and I've wrestled with a lot of these thoughts, but it was just really important to see that come to the surface, and I feel like it has our place in my mind and in our society way more than before. And what I would like to do with this band is get people from all over the Bay who came from everywhere. I don't care what you look like. I don't really care what you're into, as long as it's making good music and having a good attitude. So trying to be diverse is a huge goal of mine, and I think the quality of the music could just be so much higher if we have all these different genres coming in, right? Being in that Brazilian band with Paulo and all those people, like those rhythms, like maybe I'm gonna grab someone from there so we can have those awesome Maracatu Pacifico rhythms coming into this. It can make the sound be better. So then it goes into like the types of musicians, and why I think that's super important is because obviously we want everyone to click in the band, and we need to have people that are into the sound that the band is going to sound like, right? So playing live, improvising to develop songs, into experimenting and not being afraid to make mistakes, right, in air quotes. And most important, they love live music and have a great attitudes towards musical collaboration. I think that's super huge, right? I'm super attracted to live music, and you can't get any more interaction and collaboration than when there's a group of people playing instruments live. Super stoked on the live thing. And then I like this genre fluid. How millennial of me. But I was trying to figure out, how do we write down what this is, right? Because the goal of words are to kind of express what you may sound like in the absence of people hearing it, right? And most words fail, especially generic genre. But Judy said, you need to tell people what type of music you're going to try to make, or else they're not going to know how to look in their own context of the people that they know, and they're not going to know, right? Like, whereas I'm like, maybe we do want a classical violin, because that could be crazy to hear some crazy shredding on a classical violin. It is important to make the people that I'm reaching out to understand what I want and are able to help me, right? I don't want to make it so broad that people just can't even really give any help. So the core instrumentation I'm thinking for the first group is drum set, percussion. I want the second player playing percussion. I want it to groove, right? Drum set's awesome. Percussion just takes it to a whole new level. I'll be on bass, probably key bass. And then I'm trying to think of a third element for the rhythm section. Is probably either a rhythm guitar, or I was even thinking, can we try to do a banjo? Would a banjo, like hitting 16th notes, equate to feeling good and grooving? I don't know, but really excited. Actually, my good friend Zach did some banjo demos for me to try to test it out. I haven't had time to throw it into the tune yet, but hopefully I can do that, and we could see how it sounds. It was really cool how he sent me a few options, so I appreciate Zach on that one. Cool. And then I'm also thinking, like, eventually, leads and solos, synths and keys, saxophone, horn of some sort, maybe even strings, right? Why I put synth first is that truly to get to the soundscape that I want to create, we need some people who know how to manipulate synthesizers. And then by default, if you're heavy into synth, I'm sure you're a good piano player, probably a good organ player, right? Like, so I gotta find synth people, and then hopefully all the piano, Wurlitzer, Rhodes, all that other, those soundscapes will matter. But to create, you know, these ambient sections that I want to, that I'm interested in developing, we're gonna need someone who really has their hands on some synth. And then yeah, I'm interested in having video and lighting creatives be official members of the band. I like, if we can get an audio engineer, they're absolutely going to be official, and I've got a couple cool ideas on placement of them and how official band members are, you know, showcased. I don't know if it's an unreasonable goal, but I mean, if you look at everyone who consistently contributes to a band, it's more than the musicians, and I want to figure out creative ways that we can illuminate the other people that are critical, right? Whether it's recording the sound, doing the lighting, doing the video. Since I've been on all types of those crews, I know how critical it is, and I wonder if we can kind of rewrite the way that the band is presented, almost taking the band off the pedestal a little bit and realizing that, yeah, it's the music, but then it's also the technical, and of course it's the people, right? How can we kind of put everyone on the same plane, so that when we all rise together, or so that when we rise, we all rise together. We'll check out. We'll see how that goes. And then I tried to wrap it up by saying it starts with the small goals, like COVID safely record a single. It's gonna be Cheesecake, that tune I wrote, and see how it sounds, right? See how it ends up sounding, and we'll find out, right? So if everyone can, you know, refer a couple people, or if even they want to audition, great. I bet we can get a nice lineup going. And I just tried to reiterate the easiest way they can help me is to connect me directly or send contact information for musicians, visual artists. So that is what I've been working on. And yeah, some of the emails are starting to come in, you know, responses, which is cool, and I'm sure it's going to happen over weeks of time. And I'm not going to really worry about any, like, I'm not putting any times and dates on it, right? I'm going to talk to people, meet them where they're at, and once we get a critical mass of people who are interested in this, we'll move forward from there. So as always, you can sign up for emails at josephsstuff.com. Really appreciate that. And like, share, subscribe, everything you want to do. Great having you. I think this setup is continuing to excite me, so we'll keep going with that. And for now, I bid you adieu. Let's shut this thing down. Catch you later.